It's time for Inside the Sixers as we take a look at the Sixers at the trade deadline, which is just a couple of hours away, Thursday, 3 o'clock. We'll have all the insight for you here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. ESPN front office insider Bobby Marks, of course, worked in the Nets front office for a while. Now he's a part of the ESPN front office. And I got to, look at this trade deadline, Bobby, and ask you, do you anticipate there being a lot of movement on Thursday with the way this season has kind of unfolded, the COVID situation? Take the temperature on what you think Thursday, 3 o'clock will look like.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be some guys moved. I mean, certainly Victor Oladipo in Houston, Aaron Gordon in Orlando, Evan Fournier in Orlando, likely. Teams that are out of it. I would say there's probably more teams that are still, playing to get into either the play-in tournament or legit playoff teams. I think there's a lot of teams that are looking to buy. I just think the market is not. There's not many teams out there, in that sell mode. So there'll be some action. Probably, it's just a different year compared to the previous years when we're dealing with this in early February. We're in late March right now. Although there still is I guess it's 6 weeks to the season end.
Bobby, obviously, the Sixers are not only the top team in the East, they are the second overall team in the NBA when you look at record. But many people believe they still need something. In your opinion, is that something an all-star level player, or is that something a couple tweaks?
Yeah, I don't. I think you can go in two different ways. I mean, I've heard Doc's comments that just get Joel back healthy, which is certainly an option. I mean, they played well without him, and as you said, you have the best record in the East, and there are in that realm where don't do anything to the roster. Let's just kind of roll what we have, or you can go. I guess we call it big game hunting. I mean, we all know that what the name out there is Kyle Lowry. And I've said, if Kyle if he wants out of Toronto, he basically dictates his future. And if you're the Sixers, it's a matter of how much are you willing to give up. I mean, Kyle makes $30 million. You're probably gonna have to trade about $24 million out. So that's 3 or 4 players on your roster, along with probably 1 or 2 of your young kids, with Maxey or Tybalt, and then probably a first round pick. So that usually doesn't happen very often when you're in the best team in the Eastern Conference, where you do a little bit of an overhaul to your roster, or you can look at you've got that trade exception, which is about $8.3 million. You can look up and down the league and see what's out there that maybe fits in. I think if nothing happens at all, I would not look at it as a lost opportunity, but more of just that this team is content on trying to just get healthy, get to mid-May and either that 1 or 2 seed and go from there.
You did a video on Instagram recently about the Sixers and mentioned that they have a ton of assets. And I think some people are like, what are you talking about? They gave those all away. But people are not looking at assets the way you're looking at assets. They're looking at the treasure chest of picks they used to have. You're looking at these expiring contracts they have.
I am. I mean, they kind of check the boxes of all the different things. I mean, you've got about $30 million in expiring contracts, and yes, of course, some of those aren't going anywhere. With Dwight and Furkan, guys that have helped. But when you look at that Danny Green number is north of 15, and then guys like Mike Scott, Tony Bradley, I know is starting right now, but it adds up there as far as contracts if you have to go out and make a deal. I mentioned you have that trade exception. You've got your 2 young players. If that's something that you want to do with Tybalt and Maxey, you can trade a 2021 and 2023 first, in a deal. So you do check the boxes as far as you have more than you certainly have more than what Brooklyn can offer in a type of deal. It's just a matter of if Daryl in that front office is content on doing something now, or you want to wait maybe to the off season to kind of reevaluate where you are.
Bobby Marks, ESPN front office insider, used to work inside the Nets front office. So Bobby, take us inside, if you can, a conversation that goes on between guys who do what you've done in the past, Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, when it's we can get Kyle Lowry Do we want to give up Thibault, Maxey, picks? How's that conversation go?
Yeah, I mean, I think there has to be an understanding as far as how do we see Kyle? Is he a rental for 2.5 months? Or, you got to do a lot of back channeling as far as finding, and I know it's probably called tampering, but, kind of finding out what a comfort level from a salary standpoint, when he's a free agent this offseason. I mean, the one thing you can't do is give up two young players and then all of a sudden he walks and, for nothing here. And that's kind of the conversation is that how does he fit within our finances going forward? What do we see as far as, from a shell life, how much of an all-star level do we think he can play at? Is it 2 years? And, but that's the conversations you're having internally as far as if you're looking to, and basically, and the next thing is, all right, if we move 4 players and we're taking back 1, all right, what does the free agent or buyout market look like to kind of fill in some of those holes?
Bobby Marks, you could, by the way, find on Instagram and Twitter at BobbyMarks42. He does a lot of video stuff on Instagram that you can get some stuff like this. Now, you mentioned the fact that there's that conversation going on. Joel's ready. Does that come into play in this conversation?
I think Joel and Ben have to be part of the conversation as far as from a personnel standpoint. I think as far as, and I think we're in a day and age where I think you have to have your players involved, not in the final decision making, but if there's an opportunity to go out and get Kyle Lowry, I think that has to be floated in front of your 2 best players and see how he, if it's, what does he fit playing alongside Ben and with Joel and, with Embiid's injury, I mean, I think what are we about almost a couple weeks out from when it happened. I don't know if I'm forced to do a deal or if I'm want to just kind of hold back and because the team is playing, pretty well. I think it's about opportunity. If the opportunity is there to make a deal that makes you better and it doesn't hurt you long term. Because the group that you would be sending out are going to be free agents anyway. I think that's something that you have to look at, even if you are sitting at number 1.
I know Bobby's got to run soon. I want to get a couple quick hitters in with you. If you're Daryl Morey and the Sixers, do you have interest in such a deal then that involves a Victor Oladipo?
I would have interest in Victor if I am not giving up the – I think you'd have to give up – you'd probably have to give up Danny and probably another – filler. I'd have interest in it if I'm giving up that combination in a top 14 protected first this year. That pick's going to be in the late 20s. You get Oladipo's bird rights that you can potentially bring back in free agency. He's played a little bit better. I mean, he's not the Victor Oladipo we saw pre-injury. I mean, it's really taken him a while to kind of figure it out here. But he'd probably be your 4th option, 3rd or 4th option when you look at. With Joel and Tobias, certainly with Ben, you'd have Curry out there with him. So that would be probably more of a deal that I would probably swing for compared to a 4-for-1 plus picks plus one of your young players.
This is, if you are Daryl Morey, are you in the business of just looking to tweak buyout market, couple guys on the bench? Is that the better way to go about it with this group that they have right now?
Yeah, I think that's certainly. I think that's certainly an option. I'd certainly be interested in where JJ is, Redick, health-wise, in New Orleans. I would have a lot of interest in bringing him back, if he's bought out in New Orleans. I know he hasn't played. He's got a little bit of an injury down there. That's the one guy. If I was Philadelphia and I'm not looking to make overall changes, that I would certainly circle for a guy that can kind of come off the bench and that can give you some more shooting.
I know you got to roll. I'll leave you with this. Has Tobias Harris, in your mind, elevated his game enough where you say, you know what? I think I trust him now in a playoff series that he is the guy we're seeing now.
I'll say this. There's a difference between the Lakers roster with their 2 main guys out and the Philadelphia roster when they have an MVP candidate out. Because you have a guy like Tobias Harris that a Laker team does not have. And you see this Laker team struggle. And I think if we were naming all-stars based on the whole season and not 35 games, Tobias Harris would be an all-star.
There you go. Legit championship contender. Philly, yay or nay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're right. They're in the tier ones. I mean, Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee in the East tier ones. And then when you look at the big picture of the league, I mean, this is wide open.
Yep.
I mean, the injuries to AD and LeBron have really opened up this whole league here.
He's Bobby Marks, at Bobby Marks 42. He was our guest for Inside the Sixers today on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. The trade deadline Thursday, 3 o'clock. Bobby, thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Good stuff out of Bobby.